In this episode, we'll show you how to download ELRS TX module and receiver firmware. The first method, download via ELRS configurator. We will use downloading iFlight ELRS's 2.4 GHz receiver for demonstration. First, open the ELRS configurator. Make sure the ELRS configurator is the latest version. Then select the firmware version you need. Device category. Distinction between is the TX module or a receiver. Download the receiver firmware according to the receiver model. So choose iFlight 2.4 GHz RX. Choose Wi-Fi as the flashing method, so that you can download the firmware via compilation. Moving on to the regulation, we select the option with the suffix ISM 2400, which is FCC. FCC is the US radio standard. The option with the suffix EUCE 2400 corresponds to the radio standards of the EU countries. The gap time for auto Wi-Fi on under network options. We can customize and change the time for triggering Wi-Fi. The default is 60 seconds. If this function is cancelled, then the receiver will not enter Wi-Fi mode automatically, without binding and power on with no operation. Other settings can be defaulted. After confirming that there is no error, click Compile to download the firmware of the TX module. Next we take the iFlight ELRS 2.4 GHz TX module as an example. Select the firmware version you need, the device category, the TX module, select TX. Pay attention to the distinguishing between V1 and V2 TX module. I am now having the V1 version, so choose the option without suffix. For the flashing method, stick with using Wi-Fi. Choose ISM 2400 for the regulatory domain. When it comes to compatibility options, we need to check if we need to turn on based on the brand or model of the TX module. We are using the iFlight Commando 8 TX module, so we need to check the box to turn it on. Other settings can be defaulted. After confirming that there is no error, click Compile to download the firmware of the TX module. The second method, download via the ELRS web flasher. The operation process on the ELRS web is the same as the ELRS configurator. Let's take downloading the iFlight ELRS 900 MHz receiver as an example. First, we enter the ELRS web flasher website. Select the corresponding firmware version and the brand and model of the device. In the device model section, we need to choose according to the corresponding receiver model. Then click Next. On the second page, under Regulatory Domain, select FCC 915. Other settings are default. Come to the last option, Flashing Method. Select Local Download in the drop-down menu. Then click the Download button on the right side to download the firmware locally. The firmware download method for the iFlight ELRS 900 MHz TX module is the same as the receiver, so I won't go into detail here. These are the two ways to download ELRS firmware. We recommend using the first method because in the configurator, the firmware types will be more comprehensive. Compared to the configurator, the ELRS web updates more slowly, and many firmwares are not synchronized on it. If you have a better way to download ELRS firmware, feel free to share and discuss it in the comments.